I could not agree more that going down the middle is simply not enough. And I'm also going to apologize because I have a tendency to talk a lot, as anyone who knows me knows. And there's a lot to get to, to really understand what it is we're talking about. Why is centrism, pragmatic incremental centrism, failing? There's a lot to unpack to really understand why that is. So there's a lot of information. I have limited time, so I'm going to go quickly as best I can. My favorite photograph, if I'm going to show him at all, this is the only one that I show. I have no idea if that was doctored or not, but if it is doctored, I love that person. So, America is the greatest country on earth. Has anyone ever seen the HBO show Aaron Sorkin, The Newsroom? Okay. So you know what really, sets that series off. Someone, dares to ask the question because she's clearly thinking that maybe the answer is it's not. And she wants reassurance. Why is America the greatest country on earth? And the guy just can't take it anymore and just goes off on her. And I think that we need to talk a little bit more why that just ain't so. Number one, the U.S. ranked number 36 in the world in access to water and sanitation. That means 36 is not number one. There are 35 other countries in the world that do better at providing water and sanitation to their people. That right there alone, water is the building block of life. We are not the greatest country in the world because of that alone. But that ain't it. America has the highest incarceration rate in the world, ahead of El Salvador, Cuba, Thailand, and Russia. The land of the free locks up more of its people than anyone else in the world. We don't even live up to our values. The youth poverty rate in the United States is the highest in the developed world, with 1/4 of youth living in poverty. 25% of all children in this country live in poverty. In the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, that's a division of the UN, the US ranks 35th out of 37 in terms of inequality. The richest country in the world, and we rank close to the bottom in making sure that everyone gets to share in that prosperity. A 2018 survey found that whites severely underestimate the racial wealth gap. They think that black wealth is about 80% that of whites. Data from the U.S. Census Bureau reveals that black wealth is about 7%. This right here is a large part of our problem, where people think the problem is not good, but it's not that bad. 80%. That's a wonderful passing grade on a high school exam. 80%. We can tinker with the margins and bring that up. It's 7%. This is what we're living with. This is what we're dealing with. In 2014, the median net wealth, I had to recently re-look up the word median, because my daughter's doing math. For those that need a refresher like I did, median is the middle, the average middle, which means that the median net worth of non-Hispanic white households was $130,800, meaning half of whites earn above that, how much is relative, and the other half earn less. The median net worth of black households was $9,590. Net wealth is defined as the difference between what you own versus what you owe. $9,590. It was $17,530 for Hispanic households. Native Americans. No one ever talks about what we've done to Native Americans over the 400-year history of this country. It's a non-starter, and that is also a huge part of the problem. Has not been measured since 2000, but at that time, the median household net worth was $5,700. This has been going on for a long time. About 55% of U.S. voting-age population cast ballots in 2016. We can barely crack 50% of people to show up and participate. And this is not just simply voter suppression, unless you want to consider the fact that lack of excitement, lack of understanding that what you may actually vote for is actually going to materialize. people have given up. Registered voters represents a much smaller share of potential voters in the US than just about any other country. Just registering is like pulling teeth. And when you look at metrics like this, you can't really ask why. Medical errors in hospitals are the third leading cause of death in the US. The third leading cause, this is after cancer and heart disease, the third leading cause. Johns Hopkins University did a study that showed that between 220 and 440,000 deaths occur for this reason. The reason for the disparity is because it's very difficult to get doctors and MEs and other professionals to actually put medical error as the reason for death. This is the direct result of for-profit healthcare. It takes resources to get healthcare done. You need doctors and nurses and facilities in abundance. And the person that's paying for it, for-profit insurance companies, don't want to pay for it. They want to put that money in their pockets. This is the result. 6 corporations control 90% of all media. 6! That's down from 50 in 1983. I can't trip over someone, Republican or Democrat, who does not agree that money in politics is bad. And they will all agree to greater or lesser degrees about why. Because if you give money to someone or to an organization, you are expecting something in return. And the larger you give, the more you expect for that return. We all understand that in politics, we have to end this. Why would you think it's not the same thing in media? The same people that are buying your government, that are buying your politicians, are the same people that are buying your media. You think they do it because they love it? If they love movies and they love TV and they love news broadcasts and they all want to own some? Or are they expecting that they get to be able to control the table and control the narrative and control what stories get out there? Beneficial to them, hostile to anyone that wants to be able to challenge that power. By the median age of 35, boomers collectively own 21% of the national wealth. Again, defined as assets minus debts. This was around 1983 when the average boomer was about 35 years old. 21%. Gen Xers own 9% by the same age, early 2000s. Millennials will hit that same age in 2023, and they currently only own 3.2%. Do you see the trajectory that we're going in? Do you understand why youth are not going to stand up for the same bullshit? They are not blind. They are not stupid. They understand they're getting shafted. We're going back to the 1920s. This has got to stop. Same old is not going to work. In 2018, the median wage of the U.S. was only $32,000. That means that half the country got to earn more. How much more? Don't know. But half the country earned that or less. Half the country, $32,000 a year. You tell me, how easy is it to make money, to be able to make a living and make it feel like you're actually doing something worthwhile on $32,000 a year? 14%, over 50 million Americans live in poverty. 60% will slide into poverty after an unexpected $500 emergency. As anyone knows, once you really start to slide down, there are no mechanisms in this country to make sure that you get to stop and go back up. Down is down, and once you're down, that's where you stay. Huge increases in suicides. 35% increase since 2000. Youth suicide is amongst the most egregious. The U.S. has only a 63.4% labor participation rate. When they talk about the unemployment rate, they're talking about U3 unemployment, which is the official unemployment rate, currently at 3.5%. They are never going to break those numbers down for you on the news. To all corporations, to all business, labor is a cost. They don't want to hire you. It is not in their best interest to hire you. They want to replace you as quickly as possible for profits. And for every corporation you can point to that bucks that trend, I can point to 50 others that don't. The trend is clear. They don't want to hire you. So you three unemployment, when they tell you how wonderful it is, tell them to F off. Okay? Because the U5 number, which includes discouraged workers, no longer counted on the official unemployment rolls, is at 4.3. And they never talk about U6, which also includes part-time and other underemployed people who want regular full-time work and can't find it. It's at 6.3%. 25 million people who either don't have a job, have given up on looking for a job, or are desperate to find some type of stability in their life. The gig economy is ruining this country. This is not new. I remember when I was 21, 22, everyone was graduating from college. I got a college degree. Would you like fries with that? That was the catchphrase back in 92. It's much worse right now. Much worse than it was back then. Over 40,000 people die every year because they can't even afford shitty health insurance. 100 rural hospitals have closed since 2010. And the way the things are set up right now, another 430 are at risk of closing. So 40,000 people a year is going to seem quaint in just a couple of years if we don't figure out how to make sure that people get health care. Not access to health care, health care. It is a matter of resource allocation, not money. You ask me back here another time, we can talk about the way the economy actually works. We're going to spell that out a little bit more. Resource allocation. Whenever they need to prosecute a war, they always get the resources they need. They can set up a hospital, they can set up schools, they can set up grocery stores in the most horrible adverse conditions anywhere in the world they choose. Why not in Des Moines? You don't want to. The U.S. has dropped to 19th place on the World Happiness Report, issued every year by the UN. Down from 18th place the previous year, down from 14th in 2014. The one who was on top? All the Scandinavian countries, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they have winter 14 months out of the year. And they're the happiest on the world. On top of that, we are ranked 35th in life expectancy. Who's in 36th? Who's in 35th? Lebanon. When I was a kid, that was a war-torn country. In 30 years, they've managed to pull ahead of us in life expectancy. Against all our peer countries, we have the highest infant mortality rates. The highest. I'm not talking about third world countries. I'm talking about all our peer countries. 17 to 35 countries, depending upon what your definition is of our peers. Highest infant mortality rates, the highest of rates of obesity, highest rates of chronic lung disease, heart disease. I can go on and on and on. So I will. Rank 8th in literacy, 11th in science, 30th in math. These are the basics. America is number one. USA, USA. Fix this shit. And we can have a conversation about us being the number one country in the world. And oh yeah, climate change. Put all the rest of that aside. Climate change. The IPCC report, which is a division of the UN, itself, the culmination of 6,000 climate studies, says, and in 2018, we had 12 years to come up with a plan. 12 years to come up with a plan and implement it and get it done successfully. Not 12 years to come up with it and then start. 12 years to get it done. To get to carbon neutral. And that is simply to avoid the worst effects. Not to avoid any effects. Change is coming. There's nothing we can do about that now. But we can keep it from being catastrophic if we get up off our asses. Which leads me to ask the question, what the f are we doing? What the hell are we doing? None of this started with Trump. Trump did not do any of this. He benefited from it. He was a recipient of the benefits. He is making a lot of it worse, to be sure, but it's not his fault that it happened, except for his role as an oligarch. Ask anyone in New York, he's a huge reason why rents are the way they are, along with Bloomberg. Any blue cannot do. Cannot, by definition. If any blue would do, we wouldn't be in this position. We have had Republican control of Congress, Democratic control of Congress. We have had Democratic control of the White House and Republican control of the White House. And we have had situations where both parties have had complete control of all of it. And we're dying. And it's been getting worse. If incrementalism was ever going to save us, there should be some sign that it was working. But it's not. One step forward, 2 steps back. And if you watch the news, MSNBC, CNN, they will celebrate that 1 step forward. They won't tell you about the 2 steps back. And anyone that tries to show it to them is shamed for trying to save lives. So what are we really up against? Martin Luther King, I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. The Negro's greatest stumbling block in his stride towards freedom is not the Ku Klux Klaner, but the white moderate, who constantly advises the Negro to wait for a more convenient season. Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding of people of ill will. This is not something that was said yesterday. This is 50 years ago. And no one is paying attention. Well, not no one. Now is not the time. Hear it all the time. This is the most important election of our lives. We can't risk being called radical. Anyone that gets up and says anything, Andy Kim, for God's sakes, was called a socialist. There is nothing socialist about him on any level. They're going to throw that at him no matter what. So you may as well be a socialist. You may as well actually advocate for the policies, own it, fight for it, rise up for it, and win. There's no point in rolling over and showing your belly to people that are not going to vote for you, even if you do that. You grab for all of it, and then you see what you can do. But everything is always scary. It's always scary. Reagan is scary. Bush is scary. This guy is scary. All kinds of scary. Really scary. Well, he was scary, actually. Stop being scared. There's no point. Fear is not the place where you want to be making any decision. But I understand. When it feels like you're facing a tidal wave, oh shit. You're going to do what you're going to do. You're going to self-protect. And you're going to try to save as many people as you can, but you're going to accept that you can't save everyone. But here's the problem. We're not facing a tidal wave. We're facing the results of choices that we have made. Things that we have chosen to believe. This is possible, this is not possible. Why? I love Medicare for all, says so many people that I know. Are you fighting for it? No, it's not going to pass. Really? It's not going to pass. When you look in the mirror, look at the reason why it's not going to pass. You didn't fight for it. You accepted before the fight has even begun exactly how it's going to go. You are the reason my kids are at risk. I got kids with pre-existing conditions. You are the reason why my kids are at risk. You don't want to think that. That is horrible to believe. But I'm sorry if you're not standing up to fight for what we need and what we can have, because physically speaking, the only thing that matters is, do we have enough doctors, nurses, clinics, hospitals? If we don't, can we build them? Can we educate them? If we have it, we can make it. We can pay for it. You have to decide what you want and then go for it. Because it's about resource allocation. It cannot be done by individuals. Only the federal government can marshal the resources that we need, and we are the government. As stated in the Constitution, you think the government is a separate entity outside of you, outside of your control? Again, I point you to a mirror. You are the reason that that is the case, because it can be the case. Government can be anything you want it to be, anything you allow it to be. So stop being scared. There are a lot of things that are scary. The Backstreet Boys are scary. I hate them. I think they're getting back together, too. It's not a good look, having the Backstreet Boys around. I'm a musician, trust me, I know, it's not great. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be afraid. But don't make your decisions based upon that fear. Don't make your decisions based upon your anger. Remember love. I love my children. I love my wife. I love the people in this room. I fight for all of these things. Remembering what I love gives me something to do with my anger. Allows me to turn it into something that could be useful as opposed to something that's simply destructive. We have been betrayed. And I don't use that in a hyperbolic fashion. We have been betrayed ever since the 1970s, when productivity continued to go up, but wages stagnated. We have been betrayed because we have been told constantly, forever, stand down. Now is not the time. This can't be afforded. Our elected officials no longer feel beholden to us. As my man just said, if you state openly, vote blue no matter who, they know they got you. They no longer have to lift a finger to do anything for you because they know that you've got their back. They don't have to have yours. All they now need is your money and your vote. That's it. And they know that they're going to get it. But that's not what government is all about. Bipartisanship. Selling out the American people together. That's what we have. That's what we have. We have it on the political sphere, and we have it on social media, and we have it in the actual media. You know, I want you to be angry at your politicians. I want you to be angry at your media. After all, they did an excellent job. The media did an excellent job. They sold tickets to the greatest show on earth, selling out the American people, and they gave us all kinds of memorabilia. Anger, outrage, frustration, fear, and the greatest PTSD that you can possibly get without a conscription. We are traumatized. Most of us have no concept of how bad things actually are. They want to be able to simply go back to brunch. It is one of my single most horrible thoughts. When I go to any of these marches and I see all these signs go up and it looks great, it feels great, but inevitably I see this one or some variation of it. If Hillary had won, we'd be at brunch. And that was the problem. We would have been at brunch. We wouldn't have been taking care of what needed to be taken care of. We would have said, Hillary's got this, right? Hillary will take care of it. I trust Hillary. Wrong answer. I don't care if you like her, hate her, have no opinion. As my man said, they're not your friends. They're not your drinking buddies. How many times did you ever hear, I voted for George W. Bush because I could relate to him. I feel like I could grab a beer with him. I could grab a beer with a lot of people. In no way, shape, or form do I want them to have the nuclear codes. This is dangerous. We're not looking for fans. We're not looking for rock stars. People wanted me to run for office. What the hell are you talking about? You have no idea what my qualifications are other than my ability to yell at someone. And while I have no regrets over having done that, I regret that it was needed. And it was needed because we all stood down. And I stood down. My greatest regret in life is that I allowed 47 years to go by knowing what the problem was, but never believing that I had the right or the voice to stand up and do anything about it. Who the hell was I? And then 2016 happened, and I no longer cared who the hell was I. Because no one was taking care of anything. There is so much poverty in this country right now. Everyone is crying about kids in cages on the borders, and thank God we're paying attention to that. But where the hell were you when everyone else was suffering? Can't go back to sleep. It's just, we have to stop loving our political parties. We have to stop believing that they're the answer to anything. They're two sides of the same coin. You can say that you can't compare Democrats to Republicans. And I say you can't really breathe properly with your head up your ass. If Democrats were the solution, why do we have a life expectancy worse than Lebanon? Why are our children not educated? Why are half of us living in poverty? Why has there been no reparations for African Americans or Native Americans? Why do we have so much death and misery and bankruptcy? If Democrats were the answer, this would not be the case, because they have had their time. 50 years of it, my entire lifetime. It's time we woke up to the idea that they are not the solution. We are. We have to push them. We have representative democracy. Our hands will never be directly on the levers of power. So we have to send people to do that. And when they do good, we call them out and say, thank you very much. When they don't, we call them out and say, we're not voting for you. You're not doing what we sent you to do. But this is what we have now. Republicans are Republicans. And they have become so partisan that they can tolerate Trump. People who hated him on a Tuesday suddenly love him on a Wednesday because they feel they have to. And people that are so in the Democratic Party hate the idea that they might actually be the same way. And I'm sorry to say that they are. Vote blue no matter who is exactly Republican. Republicans will fall in line. They will vote for their person no matter what. Democrats are now saying exactly the same thing. Vote blue no matter who. This is what you get with a Democrat. 80 Democrats voted for the Iraq War. Vote blue no matter who? How many people died? How many resources were wasted and thrown away? Only Russ Feingold voted against the Patriot Act in the Senate. One Democrat voted against it. Has anyone seen the stories about senator after senator after senator, congressman after congressman after congressman? I never even read the bill. They put it in front of me, they said vote for, and I did. How wonderful is that? We thought we had a Democrat. We were told to vote for a Democrat. Vote blue no matter who. When that was supposed to matter, he sided with Trump and became a Republican. This guy's a wonderful Democrat, Louisiana Governor John Bel Edwards. You vote blue, and he signed into legislation the most draconian abortion legislation that has ever existed. Identity politics is a wonderful thing. But if you don't see the top-bottom connection, you're never going to see the left-right. This is a woman who also voted against abortion. You say, we got to get women in power. Wonderful. Can we choose the right woman? Can we choose the right person? Is that too much to ask? They got us fighting against each other. So much so that when it comes to health care, oh, my child, I shall mitigate your symptoms. That's just as soon as you sign here and initial here, and hand over your copay, meet all your deductibles, pay for your prescriptions, navigate the intentionally complicated healthcare system designed to enrich the already insanely rich because I love you. It's enough. It has to end. This narrow scope with which we're all supposed to operate in, vote blue no matter who, is killing us. And I do not use hyperbole. We can be leaders and followers. But the difference between someone who will lead, who will follow blindly, this is my leader, and I will do what I am told. I will not question them. I will not hold them to account. I will vote for them no matter what. That's a follower. That is a blind obedience. But you can allow yourself to be led. You can vote for the person who aligns with your values, saying that this person is who I'm going to vote for. I researched them. Their values closely resemble mine. I will vote for them in this coming election, but I will crucify them the minute they step out of line. Because that's the job. That's what they signed up for. Yes, they're supposed to be working for all of us, but it is their job to convince us to vote for them. It is not our job to just give them our votes and our loyalty. Loyalty is wonderful to your family, to your friends, to your community, to your country, not to your political party leaders, not to political parties. 28% of Americans identify as Democrat, 28 identify as Republican, 41 as independent. Barely half the country wants to side with any one of these people. And yet we're all told that we have to choose between one of them. There's only two major parties. Only half the country gives a damn about it to actually join their party. This is the preamble of the Constitution. The general welfare is right there. It shows up multiple times in the Constitution itself. That is government's job. And it's never going to happen until we become the government. So let's change the channel. They want to be entertainers. Treat them like entertainers. Change the channel. To hell with them. Make them fear us. How many people here think I'm a Bernie Sanders guy? Okay. I'm not. I'm a Medicare for All guy. I'm a Green New Deal guy. I'm a federal jobs guarantee guy. I'm an ending wars for oil kind of guy. I will vote for the person that actually wants to do those things. I only preface this because I'm going to end this with something that I hope will send a message. It's a Bernie Sanders video. I'm not a Bernie Sanders guy. I will call him out the second he steps out of line. But this is from Killer Mike. This is the message.
I just want to say one of my favorite writers growing up was a man named James Baldwin. And I remember Baldwin saying, you ask my father to wait, my brother to wait, my uncle to wait, how long must I wait on freedom? How long must I wait on rights and equality and liberty? And as a black child, that resonated with me because I knew I'd been denied and I personalized that. But as I grew, I started to understand poor white people have been denied. Women have been denied. Gays and lesbians, transgender people been denied. Immigrant children been denied. Everybody outside of that 1% has been denied. So I want you to take a few seconds to look to your left and look to your right. Look to your neighbor and say, neighbor, the time is now. There are more of us. We're stronger. We will wait no longer. The time is now. When you go to that booth next year, I need you to carry in that booth the memory of this room. Black, white, straight, gay, men, female. We are together. We are united. Our time is right now. We will not wait 4 more years. We will not wait 20 more years. We will not wait 2 more presidents. We will not wait 3 more presidents. The time is now. The time is not in the future. The time is not some abstract time. The time is not something that might be. The time ain't something that could be. The time ain't nothing that should be, that would be. It ain't tomorrow. It ain't the day after. It ain't coming next week. The time is. The time is. The time is. The time is. Senator Bernard Sanders will be the next president of the United States of America. Thank you all.
I'm not a Bernie guy. I'm honestly not. He's just simply the only one that has, for the entirety of my lifetime, been standing up for the same things that I have been standing up for my entire lifetime. He's not my friend, but the time is now, because people have been suffering forever, and it's only been getting worse, because everyone has been saying pragmatic, incremental, we'll get there. But we never do. We never do. Usually it's the lower classes that have been getting shafted. Why are we all woke? Because now it's the upper middle class that's starting to feel the heat. And they need to start waking up to exactly how long this has been going on for and what they need to stand up for. Thank you very much.